What is up, everybody? My name is Sweat, and we're back talking NFL Pick'ems Week 9. We're already halfway through the season. It's crazy to say, but it feels like it just started a couple of weeks ago. With that being said, I'm hoping that I can beat my previous record of 12-2. So I'm going to give you a rundown of my picks from this past Sunday, and then I'll let you know who my picks are for this upcoming week. Starting off with the Thursday game, Vikings and Rams. I knew it was going to be a close game. The Rams got Kupp and Nakua back, and they ended up pulling out the win. Unfortunately, I did go with the Vikings just because I thought Puka was going to be on kind of a snap count, and maybe Kupp was they were just going to kind of ease him back, but they both had really good games, and they ended up winning in the end. And the shocker of the week, Ravens and Browns. The Browns ended up pulling it off in the end. Jameis Winston showed up. The Ravens had a couple of mistakes where they dropped a game-winning interception, and the Browns took advantage of that, and they ended up winning in the end. Next up was the Texans and Colts. That game came down to the end, but Anthony Richardson is just not a good quarterback right now, and thankfully for them, they benched him, and now Joe Flacco will be starting moving forward. Next up is the Packers and Jaguars. That game was a lot closer than I expected, but I did notice that Jordan Love went down with a groin injury, which probably made the game closer. I didn't really get a chance to watch it that much, but they ended up getting the win in the end, and that's all that matters. Next up is the Titans and Lions. We knew the Lions were going to blow them out. The Titans are just not a very good team right now, but I'm hoping that Jordan Love does play this week because they got a big game coming up against the Lions. Next up, Falcons and Bucks. This game was for first place in the division, and the Falcons ended up pulling it out in the end. Moving on to the Jets and Patriots. I picked the Jets, but I was hoping that the Patriots were going to win, and they did. The Jets are the laughingstock of the league right now. They really need to get their shit together because that firing for Robert Saleh is looking real bad on them right now. Moving on to the Cardinals and Dolphins. The Cardinals ended up winning on a last-second field goal, which I'm happy about for obvious reasons, but they're also a tricky team. It's like 1 week they're on, 1 week they're off, back and forth, but they're sitting atop their division right now, and that's all that matters. Moving on to the Eagles and Bengals. This game actually looked like it was going to be a pretty good game all the way to the end, but the Eagles pulled away in the second half, and the Bengals are struggling right now again just to stay in the playoff mix, and they're playing the Raiders this week, so that's a good opportunity to get back in the win column. Next up, my Bills against the Seahawks. We dominated them this game. I thought it was actually going to be an ugly game due to the heavy rain, but we took care of business, and we're sitting good right now in our division. Next up is the Chargers and Saints. Saints are just not a good team right now. They got too many injuries. They don't have a quarterback, so the Chargers did what they had to do to get the win. Next up was the crazy game of the week, Chicago and Washington. The Bears looked terrible the first 3 quarters of the game, but then they came back and took the lead in the last, I think it was 30 seconds of the game. But then Washington had one timeout. They did what they had to do to get to midfield, set up Jaden Daniels for the Hail Mary, and they got it. Crazy finish. Next up is the Chiefs and Raiders. I really thought the Raiders had a chance to pull off the upset, but they just couldn't get in the end zone, and the Chiefs defense did what they had to do. Next up is the Broncos and Panthers. Panthers took an early lead. I really thought they were going to make it a little bit more competitive, but the Broncos also did what they had to do at home and got the win. Next up, the Sunday night game, Cowboys and Niners. The Niners dominated this game, but in a blink of an eye, they gave up 2 easy touchdowns towards the end of the game, and the Cowboys actually had a chance to win the game. They were down 1 possession, I think it was 5 or 6 points, and they had the ball with about 3.5 minutes, but Niners defense stepped up, and the Niners just owned the Cowboys. And the last game, Monday Night Football, Steelers and Giants, it was a pretty close game all the way up until the 4th quarter. The Steelers did what they had to do. They pulled away, and they got the win. So overall, my record ended up being 12-4. I tied my previous record with 12 wins, but I still had a better record. I did go 12-2 a couple of weeks ago, so I'm looking to get to that 13 win this week, but let's see if I can get it done. Starting off with the Thursday night game, Texans and Jets. I keep picking the Jets every week, hoping that they'll lose, and it keeps happening. But I honestly think they're going to win tonight, just because the Texans are down Stephon Diggs. I know they still have Tank Dell. They do have Robert Woods, John Mechie, but I don't know. I just feel like the Jets are desperate, and they're going to do whatever it takes to get the win tonight. By the way, if the Jets lose again tonight, I'm probably done picking them for the rest of the year. I haven't seen what their schedule looks like, but it doesn't matter at this point. They have all the talent in the world. They just can't put the pieces together. if they can't beat the Texans tonight, they need to look to get draft picks for next year. Moving on to the Sunday games. First up, Bills and Dolphins. Obviously, I'm going to take the Bills. We've owned the Dolphins. We're 14-2 in the last 16 games. Keon Coleman has been stepping up. Shakir, Kincaid, ever since the addition of Amari Cooper, we've just looked better on offense. Next up, Raiders and Bengals. I'm going to take the Bengals. The Raiders are just not a very good team right now. They don't have a quarterback. I keep saying this every week. We know that. But the Bengals are desperate. They're at home, and they really need this win to stay in the playoff mix. Next up is the Cowboys and Falcons. This is going to be a good game, I think. I'm going to take the Falcons. They've looked good on offense for the past few weeks, and the Cowboys are still struggling right now. Moving on to the Broncos and Ravens. I'm going to take the Ravens. I'm pretty sure they're still pissed off from last week losing to the Browns, but the Broncos have looked good. They're both 5-3 right now, so don't sleep on the Broncos, but I'm going to give the edge to the Ravens. Next up is the Patriots and Titans. Both teams not very good right now. The Patriots are probably feeling really good after coming off that last second win to the Jets. The Titans got blown out, but oddly enough, I'm going to take the Titans. They're at home, and I just think they squeak it out this week. Next up, Saints and Panthers. I want to take the Panthers so bad because they're at home and they haven't won in a few weeks. I mean, they only have one win, but I just think this is their opportunity to steal one at home. But with the Saints probably getting Derek Carr back, I just think the Saints are going to win it again in the end. Next up is the Chargers and Browns. I'm going to take the Browns. I still think they're on a high from last week, beating the Ravens at home, and they're at home again. Plus, the Chargers got to travel all the way to the East Coast, so I know they looked good last week. Ladd McConkey stepped it up. They still have J.K. Dobbins. They still have a decent defense, but I think the Browns win it again. Next up, Washington and the Giants. I'm going to take Washington. I just think the Giants are still not a good team, and Jaden Daniels should have a good game against them. Next up, Jaguars and Eagles. This should be a pretty easy win for the Eagles. The Jaguars are down their top 3 receivers. Brian Thomas Jr., Gabe Davis. I'm not too sure if he's out yet, but Christian Kirk is also out with a broken collarbone, so I just think the Eagles will win this one pretty easy. Next up should be a really good game, Bears and Cardinals. I know the Bears are pissed off from losing on that Hail Mary, but the Cardinals have also looked good these past couple of weeks. Plus, they're at home. It's a tough one, but I'm going to take the Cardinals at home. Next up, Rams and Seahawks. I'm going to take the Rams. They looked really good last week with Puka and Cutback, but the Seahawks just aren't looking too good. It's like they're on a roller coaster. They go up, they go down, they up, down, but I just think they're on the down right now, and the Rams are just a better team. Next up, what should be a good game if Jordan Love plays, Lions and Packers. I'm going to take the Packers if he plays, but if not, I'm going to take the Lions. I just think they have a good chance of beating the Lions. They're at home, they have a good defense, and it should be a really good game if he does play. Next up is the Sunday night game, Colts and Vikings. This game is actually kind of hard for me to pick. With Joe Flacco getting in the starting lineup over Anthony Richardson, the Colts are just a much better team. But the Vikings are back at home. I'm sure they're also pissed off losing the last 2 games. I'm going to take the Vikings at home. And on to the Monday night game, Bucks and Chiefs. I'm going to take the Chiefs. They're at home. The Bucks are still down their 2 receivers. I know they are desperate to get a win, but the Chiefs are just going to be too much. So those are going to be my picks for the week. I did want to mention the 2 teams on a bye are the Steelers and Niners. But let me just give you a quick recap of who I picked. Jets, Bills, Ravens, Bengals, Titans, Saints, Falcons, Browns, Washington, Eagles, Cardinals, Rams, Lions if Jordan Love doesn't play, but I'm taking Green Bay if he does, Vikings, and Chiefs. So let me know if I'm crazy. Good luck to your team except Miami. The hell with you guys this week, and go Bills.